What the angels are sent to do in 2026 is not a sermon, it is a sequence. And the sequence is already on the clock. 400 years. That is the number Genesis chapter 15 verse 13 put on the table before any ship crossed any ocean. 400 years of affliction in a land not their own. And then the text says they shall come out. The math lands in this decade, not approximately, precisely. And the geopolitical record of the last 24 months reads like a document being stamped one page at a time. Let me lay the receipts down, one at a time. January of 2026, the administration in Washington signed what it named the Global Sovereignty Protection Act. The press release framed it as a pushback against United Nations overreach. The fine print did something else. It defunded African Union peacekeeping operations across the Sahel and the Horn, and it redirected appropriations away from sub-Saharan development partnerships that had stood since the early 2000s. The dollar figure pulled from the African continent in the first quarter alone exceeded $1.2 billion. Within 14 days, 3 African nations, names already in the wire reports, Mali, Burkina Faso, and a third whose negotiation posture shifted in the same window, accelerated their entry talks with the BRICS economic bloc. The wind shifted, that is not metaphor, that is the wire. Receipt 2, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, construction began in 2011. Total cost, $4.8 billion, financed almost entirely without Western institutional lending. By 2020, the reservoir had begun its first fill. By 2023, Egypt had formally invoked colonial-era water treaties dating to 1929 and 1959. Treaties signed when Ethiopia was not at the table and not consulted. Ethiopia declared those treaties void. The African Union convened mediation 3 separate times. Each round collapsed. As of this year, the United States, Russia, China, and the Gulf states all hold competing positions on the outcome of a single river. Psalm 68 verse 31, written 3,000 years ago, says, "Princes shall come out of Egypt, and Ethiopia shall stretch out her hands unto God." The verse is not waiting to be fulfilled. The verse is being staged on the banks of the Nile this quarter. Receipt 3, the Euphrates, satellite data from the United States Geological Survey published in 2022 and updated through 2025. Documents a sustained drop in flow exceeding 40% against the 20th century mean. Sections that ran year-round in the 1970s now run dry for months at a time. Revelation chapter 16 verse 12 names the drying of the Euphrates as a prophetic marker. The data is not in dispute, the interpretation is. But the data sits in the public record, in the same agency reports that fund agricultural policy, and the trajectory has not reversed in any year since 2017. Receipt 4, Iran, modern Persia, the same territorial entity Daniel chapter 10 names by its supernatural counterpart. Since 2024, 2 rounds of nuclear negotiations have collapsed. Maximum pressure sanctions were reinstated in March of 2025. Proxy operations across Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq have intensified to a tempo not seen since the Iran-Iraq War. The angel speaking to Daniel in chapter 10 said the prince of Persia withstood him 21 days. That was not poetry. That was a jurisdictional report. And the same jurisdiction is producing the same kind of resistance in 2026. Receipt 5, the financial architecture itself. The dollar's share of global reserve currency holdings has dropped from 72% in the year 2000 to under 58% in the most recent International Monetary Fund quarterly. BRICS payment systems processed more than $400 billion in cross-border settlement in 2025, the first year that figure crossed the threshold. The post-Bretton Woods order, built in 1944, is being unbuilt in real time, and the unbuilding is concentrated in exactly the regions Daniel chapter 2 named. The feet of iron mixed with clay, the empire that holds together in places and shatters in others. Receipt 6, the 400-year clock. Genesis 15 verse 13 gave Abraham a number. The first documented arrival of enslaved Africans on the mainland of what would become the United States is dated August of 1619 at Point Comfort, Virginia. 20 captives. The records were kept. 400 years from 1619 lands in 2019. 400 years from the peak of the trade lands in this decade, depending on which census of arrivals you use. The Hebrew text in Genesis does not say 401. It does not say 390. It says 400. The clock is not vague. The clock has been running, and the events on the wire, the funding withdrawals, the dam, the river, the sanctions, the currency, the realignment, are all stacking inside the same 48-month window. Now stack the 6 receipts and look at what they spell. A funding withdrawal that pushes African nations towards sovereignty alignment. A dam that puts the Nile under African control for the first time since the British wrote the treaties. A river named in Revelation drying on schedule. A Persian power producing the exact resistance Daniel documented. A reserve currency losing its grip on the architecture it built. And a 400-year clock that started in 1619 and is reading 0. These are not 6 unrelated stories. These are 6 instruments in the same orchestra, and the score was written before any of the players were born. Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. After these things, John writes, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. Till. The whole verdict turns on that word. The 4 angels have not been disarmed. They have been paused. The pause exists for a reason, and the reason is a sealing that has not finished. The 5th angel is moving from the east with an instrument in his hand toward a people who have to be marked before the wind comes off the chain. The receipts on the table say the wind is already on the chain. The receipts on the table say the chain is the only thing holding. What the angels are sent to do in 2026 is what they have always been sent to do. Hold the line until the count is complete. Move from the east with the seal until the foreheads are marked. Stand up, in Michael's case, at the moment the pressure peaks. The assignment was issued before 1619. The assignment did not change when the ship sailed. The assignment did not change when the names were taken and the languages were lost and the genealogies were burned. The assignment was always to find the people the records tried to erase and to seal them before the wind is permitted to move. 6 receipts. 1 sequence. The clock reads 0 and the angels are exactly on time.